Hello and welcome to another video. So this time I am outdoors, but in my back garden. I've got a little bit of a project. I'm constructing a second sawhorse for use on my upcoming knives and tools course. And so I thought I'd just take you through the whole process. If you've watched my saw techniques video, you know that I'm a big fan of sawhorses and how they improve safety when you're sawing things, working with people of varying ages, but particularly children. It makes sawing a lot safer, a lot easier for them as well. So it's a really handy piece of equipment to have around. Mine has to be portable. I have to move it from place to place. It comes with me in the van and then I have to unload it every session. But as I said, it's a really handy thing to have. I knew I could do with two, so we're going to go through and construct that. So if you're interested in that, stick around and I'll see you in a mo. So this is the Mark I sawhorse, the sawhorse I constructed about a year or so ago to use. And as you can probably tell, it was kind of cobbled together out of bits and pieces of scrap wood I had lying around. This is a really good project if you have some spare pallets lying around, odds and ends of wood. You can make good use of it. And the real advantage of making one yourself is that you can tailor it. A lot of the sawhorses that you can buy when you're out and about, so from places like Toolstation, Screwfix, whatever, they're big metal sawhorses, and first of all, they're often too tall for children, and secondly, they are also quite a bit heavier, and I just like the feel of wood rather than metal. It's a lot softer on the hands, less likely to cut yourself, and so on. So really handy size, being able to make your own, and you can either buy in the timber or use scrap wood you have lying around. I'll show you exactly what sort of tools and resources you need for this project, and I will have a link to the blog post with all of the details that you need to know in the description and up above as well, so you can make one yourself. It'll have all the measurements and everything else. But essentially what you're going to need is 6 posts. So we have 2 at either end, so you can get that kind of scissor movement. And then I also include a later modification was one just a little bit closer, because often with children in craft projects you're working with comparatively smaller pieces of wood, so it's useful to have a rest a little bit closer to the end. So we need 6 of these, and they're going to vary in size depending on the height that you want to work at. I believe these are about 80 centimeters long, but the ones we'll be making today are a bit longer. We'll talk about that. Then we have 2 sections of bracing. So at the bottom here we have a thicker piece, more of a plank, that can just give you a bit stability at the bottom there, and then we have another bit of bracing up at the top which can be a little bit thinner. And then we've got a rope to join it all together, stop it from moving apart too far, and bolts either end so it can fold away nice and easy. So here's the timber I have. We have our 3 pieces of a longer these will be the legs. So I'm going to try and get 2 legs out of each piece, and however long your pieces are may well dictate how long your legs are. So I'll just be chopping these pretty much straight in half, and then whatever that length is, that'll be our leg length. but you can go out and you can look for specific lengths. I think it will come out to about 90 centimeters, about a meter. Then we've got a plank for the middle, for the bottom, so that's the wider piece, and then bracing for the top over here. And that's pretty much all we need for timber. Okay, in terms of tools and hardware, you'll need a saw, a screwdriver, two different drill bits, so one that's just a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner than the diameter of your screws, and then another one that's the same diameter as your bolts. Then you'll need bolts, so I've got some M10 hex screws. Here the length is going to be basically more than double the width of your legs, but you'll see that later on, talking about that. The screws, again, long enough to fit through your wood, whichever size you get. I'll have all of the measurements and everything else for particular ones. Some rope to tie the two bottom planks together, and spanners to tighten up the bolts. I've probably forgotten some tools and other miscellaneous ones like tape measure and pencil are pretty much obvious on there. If there's anything that I've left out, I'll add it all in on the blog post. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark out our leg lengths. Okay, so depending on what length, as I said, depending on what length wood you have, that will sort of dictate the length of your legs. But I'd say around a meter, 80 centimeters to a meter is probably good for a child-sized sawhorse. Now the wood I've got here is 180 centimeters long, so that means I will cut it at 90. So basically in half. That way you get the most out of the wood that you have. Now, I'm no woodworker, so there's probably going to be 101 people that are going to cringe at my method and everything else. I'm more used to green woodworking and bushcraft stuff, so still learning. It's an entirely new skill set to learn. But that's just like with anything. There's always more to learn. You should never stop learning. So we go. So I've got the legs marked out. Then for the legs, I'm going to make for the bracings at the top and bottom. You want it long enough that it is going to, that the whole saw is going to be stable, and that it's long enough that you can work with the tools and equipment you have. Now I'm going to go 80 centimeters. Put them up. So two pieces at 80 centimeters, so one at 80, one at 160. I'm going to do the same thing for the top bracing. Now I've just got to get them cut down to size. Now that we've got our 6 legs cut down to size, just going to mark out the holes for the bolt. So go make it, drop it down 15 centimeters. This will give us about enough height so those hand guards are effective. Now we can drill our holes for the bolts. Now you can do this entire project with hand tools, and normally I would as well. Gets a bit of exercise, and definitely if I'm working with children, then hand tools are nice to learn, but I'm a little bit short on time at the moment, got plenty to do, so I'm going to cheat slightly and use a hand drill. I'm going to use an auger bit, so it has a little thread on the end. These are really nice to have, particularly for those hand drills. But yep, I'm just going to put in a bolt hole in each of those squares there, with a little piece of sacrificial wood underneath so I don't split out the back. Now we can construct our legs. So just go pop that through there, grab a bolt for the back. There we go. One leg done. Now that we've got our 3 pairs of legs all set up, we're just going to make a mark 10 centimeters from the bottom of the legs. I'm going to go every second leg. Okay, so I'm starting on the second one here, because there's 2 there. So starting the second one just because this side is split off, because we're going to want to alternate the legs that they're attached to. So we go 1, 2. So every second one in this row, go make a little mark 10 centimeters from the bottom. And that'll be where we line up the bottom of our bottom bracing board. Yeah, so we'll line that up. Doesn't matter if it overhangs a bit, the legs won't be going in that direction. I'm just going to drill 2 quick pilot holes. This means that when we drop the screws in, they're less likely to split the end of our board here. Once we've got it all screwed in at that end, then we can come over here, and again we're going to choose the second leg along. So this means that this plank will be attached to the outside leg on this end and the inside leg on that end. That's important, otherwise you won't have a leg to stand on. So line it up, pop our pilot holes in, then for our middle pair of legs we're going to be coming a lot closer to one side over here. So I'm going to just pop it in about 20 centimeters in. Again, I'm going to be screwing it to the second leg along. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing with the top here. Just go pop in 1 screw, hold it in a little bit of a distance from that top bolt there. And there we go. We have one side finished. We just need to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, except now we're going to be attaching to the legs that don't have anything currently attached to them. Once we've got the other side on, we now have essentially a stable sawhorse, and you'll quickly work out exactly how square it is. I did warn you I wasn't a carpenter, don't look at this too closely. So anyway, we've got our top and bottom bracings, we've got our legs there, and now the only thing left is we're going to decide how wide we want the base of the sawhorse to flare out. We're going to drill a hole straight through the middle there so we can thread our rope through and we can stop it from spreading out too far and becoming unstable. Around right on the 40 mark. Yeah, that should be enough that we can take some of our rope. This is a great use for if you have some of that rubbish blue poly hemp rope, this kind of stuff lying around. It's useless for anything else, so this will be that. So I'm going to thread it through both holes, notch at the back, nice figure of 8 knot through. If we pull it out to the width we want, leave a little bit extra, find your knife, so have to melt those ends later. Then we can tie a nice big figure of 8 knot on this side as well. Well, there we go. I hope you found that useful, and if you would like to learn more about using these sawhorses in practice and working on tool skills and everything else, I have a tools working shop coming up, tools and knives course. It's a full day, covers everything you need to know to use knives, tools, knives, axes, saws, whatever, with groups safely over the course of one day. Designed for forest school leaders and outdoor practitioners, like scout leaders, bushcraft instructors, so on. Just very basic, just equipping you with the skills and knowledge. And we'll be taking a look, and you'll be able to see these in person over there. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to that as well. And so that's coming up in February. If you are watching this after February, chances are I've probably got one scheduled in, early part of the next year. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Like I say, links everywhere you need them, and make the most of every day, and I'll see you all next time.